This is a watch I didn't think I'd ever own. But now that I have it, I'm actually thinking about picking up a couple. Because while it looks a little different, to say the least, it feels beyond what I expected. And if you give it a chance, you might fall in love, if you can get over one thing. Welcome back to Wrist Unwound, where every watch tells a story. If you're new here, I'm Tyree, and this is where we do a review of a watch, but we're gonna use the 10S framework, where we cover everything from the stories to the specs to our unique scoring system for if you should buy it or not. And today, we're looking at the Timex World Time 1972 reissue, a timepiece that has been on the wrist way more than I expected, and it's something that I never even expected to have in the collection to start with. Now, I will have to say, this video isn't sponsored, but the watch was given to me by Timex. I don't have to give it back, but they have no part in this review, and they're not gonna see it before you do, especially if you hit subscribe and the bell icon and you're here first. So let's go ahead and start with our number one, the story. Now this one reaches way back into the archives, all the way back to 1972. Before I was born, but some of you might have been there, you might remember the nostalgia. See, Timex originally released this watch for the European market, when World Time complications were more tool, but they were also just part status symbol. It was an era where travel meant prestige. Now, here's the wild part. This isn't really a flashy GMT or an oversized travel watch. It's compact, it's quirky for sure, and it's unmistakably retro. Now, you might also notice that when you're looking around the dial, the names are actually in French on the bezel. Now, this is not just a design choice. It's actually a faithful nod back to the original model, which was made for French-speaking countries. So it's really not just a watch, but it's also a passport to a different era. Now let's get into the numbers. Let's talk number two, the specs. So the case size is a 39mm diameter with a 12mm thick. This is gonna be an excellent watch and it really fits on the wrist well. The movement is gonna be a quartz analog and the water resistance is gonna be 50 meters, which means you really don't wanna go swimming with it, but with the modern technology, you'll be able to walk around the rain just fine. Just try not to get it a little bit too wet. Now we transition to the crystal. This is have a dome acrylic. There's some pros and cons, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later. The case material is going to be a brushed and polished stainless steel case. The battery is an SR626SW, and the weight is going to be about 58 grams. This is about the same as a tennis ball. Now the watch, it's compact for modern standards, but that works to its advantage. It wears like a vintage timepiece because it is one, but you have all the modern protection of a modern watch because it is one of those as well. Now let's talk about number three, style. If funky jet setter was a design category, this would be at the top of the list. It has a barrel-shaped case, it has downward lugs that hug the wrist, it has this geometric red second hand, high contrast dial with the minimalist hour markers and almost like a sector dial look. The oversized bezel with the 24 cities around the world, yes, it rotates. Now, I will have to make a note, it is a friction bezel, so it doesn't have the clicks, and I prefer that, but we'll get into a little bit more of that later when we talk about some of the issues with the watch. Now this watch, it is not conventional in any means, but it wasn't trying to be in the 70s, and it definitely isn't now. This is for someone who wants something that sparks curiosity, that sparks conversation, and that's gonna be different. And that difference is which makes the next section that much harder to talk about. So for section 4, we talk about the similarities. Now, this is a very hard watch to find similar comparisons. And so when I was looking, there's two that kind of hit it, but not really for different reasons. Now the first one is the Mito Ocean Star Decompression World Timer. This is the closest that I could see with dial. It does have a world time feature, but it doesn't really hit the same, and also the case shape is different. Also, the Mito comes in around $1,300, which is a lot more than the watch that we're talking about today. Then there's the Octo Roma watch, which might be closer in looks and aesthetics, but it's a lot further away when we talk about the asking price. Now, this one comes in at about 10,000 euros or over $11,500 of freedom bucks. Now, I don't know how to say the name of that company, and I also can't afford this watch right now, so this one's never gonna make it into my collection, but this World Timer is definitely a better alternative to both of these because you get some of this unique style, but those both cost 6 to 10 times as much as the price, so, you know, it's up to you, I guess. Now let's go into section 5, which is gonna be the strap. It comes on this leather strap, and there's also multiple colorways, so depending on which color dial you get, it will also determine what kind of strap you get. Now, this strap, it feels great, and it feels a lot more premium than you expect for a sub $200 watch. And it's from a trusted brand. The SB Foot Training Company out of Red Wing, Minnesota makes quality leather products, and they're also a staple in many Timex's more, say luxurious watches or watches that have great straps. Now the buckle is standard, nothing fancy, and gets the job done. And I personally think that this watch is probably gonna be a strap monster. But if you wanna see some of the pics of this in the real world and just see how I wear it in my everyday life, check out my Instagram channel. In the description, there's a link to it. But that's where I, showcase my personal collection of well over now 170 watches, as well as give some tweaks of upcoming videos. Links are in the description, as I said. And while you're around that area, hit subscribe. Got it? Cool, let's keep going. So for section 6, let's talk about some of the subdials. Now there are no subdials here, but the point is to talk about some of the special specifications or tools that this watch has. Now for this one, the time telling is really the biggest thing. The World Time bezel does all the real heavy lifting, and so in some ways I guess that's a subdial or a complication. But all you really need to do if you've never used a world timer before is just line up your local city with the hour hand, and boom, you've got 23 other time zones just at a glance. Now, the only additional feature that this watch has is the date window at the 3, which is really done tastefully. It also has a color match with the sector dial, which I think is great. And this is a rare case in which really the bezel is the most important complication of the watch, and it's really carrying it through. So now let's talk about the shine. Now, this pops in the right light. That brushed top, the polished sides, it really catches the eye, and that domed acrylic crystal gives it that vintage distortion that we love, because it is a reissue of a vintage watch. The dial, it's crisp, the printing is sharp, and that red second hand, it really pops. It's really like a subtle flex in some ways, but the best part might be the downward lugs, because it makes the whole thing hug the wrist. It looks smaller than the 39 millimeters, and from certain angles, that light just chef's kiss. Now, number 8, let's talk about some of the shortcomings, because no watch is perfect, and I don't really want to sugarcoat it. That acrylic crystal scratches easily, and you're gonna want some poly watch, and if you don't know how to get out of scratch, I made a video about that as well. Now, the bezel, it's friction, and while it does tie to its vintage roots because that's how it was originally made, I know there's some creators out there, Try Vision 3D, we're talking to you, he wants his clicks, and he doesn't want to be denied. So for people who want the clicks in their bezel, this might not be for you. Now, if I want to be very nitpicky, I wish the date was just about, 0.78 millimeters to the left, so that the entire date window fit within that sector dial. But now, we're just splitting hairs. Literally, because it's 0.78 millimeters. Well, I guess figuratively, because it's not an actual hair, but it's about the width of a hair. You get the point. It's a very small thing. It's not something you gotta like throw the watch away for, but I don't know. Now, I do have to get the biggest issue for some. And this is going to be the biggest factor of if you want to wear this watch or not. And it's going to be the look. It's definitely not for everyone. If you like a modern look, if symmetry, simplicity, or you like that tool watch vibe, this watch is going to throw you off. But if you're willing to try something different, if you're a collector that already has a few pieces in your collection, you want something a little different, maybe you got a 70s party, maybe you just want a vintage vibe, this watch is going to be perfect for you. But I'm interested, is this look a little bit too different for you? Let me know in the comments down below what you think about this watch, the design, the case shape, and let's continue on with the review. Now let's talk about my sentiments. Here's where it flips. This thing has a soul. You see, every time I wear it, people ask, like, what is that? It's nostalgic without being loud, and it feels like finding a vintage gem in your grandfather's sock drawer. It just so happens that it's brand new. So I guess I go into the number 10, so what? In the world of cookie cutter watches, this one took a risk. It's a time capsule, it's a conversation starter, and it's a subtle reminder that travel used to be adventure, not with a TSA line. For the budget conscious, design driven collector, it's an absolute sleeper, and it's something that I think you should consider for your collection. So now, since we're talking about travel time, let's keep it in that same lens and let's talk about a sponsor, I guess, for the video. Well, they're not sponsoring me, but until I get sponsors, I want to talk about products that I truly love. And the Smith & Rowe watch case, I think, is absolutely incredible. They're known for being the UK's finest handmade leather watch cases, and they really don't disappoint. And so when I'm rocking this World Timer and those TSA lines, best believe that I'm gonna have a Smith & Rowe in my bag carrying my other watches for the trip. Now, like I said, they didn't sponsor the video, I just love their stuff. But if you want a full review of their products, or you're a brand who wants to sponsor me in the future, let me know. DMs are open and I'm always looking for new brands to talk about on the channel. So now we get to the point that everyone's been waiting for, my recommendation. So here when we talk about recommendations, it's a 7-point scale. 1, stop. Don't do it, my friend. 2, if it's at a steep discount, go ahead and buy it. 3, save up, good, but not quite there. 4, that means it's gonna be a solid pickup, no regrets. 5 is gonna be a standout, great value, great look. 6 that means you gotta sell some stuff. It definitely deserves a piece in your rotation no matter what your collection looks like. And number 7 is sell everything but your soul. That is a must-own piece. And where does this one fit? Drum roll. On the wrist unwound scale, I'm gonna give this one a 5. It's a standout. It's a great value, it's a great look. Now, it's not perfect, but for under $200, it punches well above its weight, especially if you do appreciate some good design history. Now let me know, did this review help you? If you like this watch and you're thinking about picking one up, use the affiliate link down below. It's free to you, but it helps keep Wrist Unwound ticking because these videos aren't free. And like, comment, and subscribe for more reviews and collector stories. And while you're here, check out one of these videos. You know, maybe it's another review, maybe it's from a playlist, maybe it's just one that YouTube recommended for you. But for everything, there's a season, and for every watch, a story. Thanks for sharing this one with me. God bless, and I'll see you next time. Peace.